when it rivers a 7, now if I have 7-8, I made a pair, 8-9 made a straight, lots of hands improved, so I think you kind of just have to fire, which we will. Good luck us. Hey everyone, this is Uri for Guerrilla Poker, bringing you another short live play video of NL200 on GG Network. I always preface these with a little bit of strategy, and I think what I'll do this time is I'll actually talk a bit about player types. We'll do this as kind of an intro to a future video. I'm thinking about doing a video about kind of the history of poker. If you think back to when poker just started and everyone was just learning the rules, everyone would play, you could say like a monkey kind of. They would just be button clicking. All the bet sizes would be with no proportion to the pot, no proportion to your hand strength. People would donk bet, and this is the environment in which poker started. And it's interesting from a strategic standpoint to think about how do I beat players like these. And it's something that's important to know because players like these do exist. They exist in casinos and they exist online. So you want to know how to recognize people who basically have just learned the rules and have no clue of proper poker strategy. And B, you want to know what's a good counter strategy to those guys, because obviously everything we know we throw out the window. We want to play differently because they don't know what they're doing. If I had to sum it up in one or two sentences, say, there are a million cues to recognize these types of players. But if you run into one, you and you alone are responsible for the size of the pot. So you need to make bets as big as you want them to make. Never fold strong hands because these guys are misreading their hand strength. And you throw the entire idea of polarization out of the window. You can't bluff catch with ace high. They're not, nuts or nothing. These guys are just clicking buttons. They might bet 2 pair when it's 4 to a flush, 4 to a straight, because they just don't notice. One of the most profitable archetypes, as long as you manage to throw away all the stuff you've learned and play a bit different. That out of the way, let's dive into live play. I don't know if we'll run into any of those, maybe if we're lucky. So ace-9, 6 two-tone is a board which I could do a number of things with ace-king. A lot of guys just bet everything, which is okay. That would be betting a bit too much. And yeah, I think checking is fine too. Once it's checked and he checks back, we're just going to try to get stacks in. Which, had I checked and he bet, I'd probably check raise. Like this hand wants to get stacks in, to be very clear. So yeah, just throwing some big bets out there, and we'll let this guy decide what he wants to decide with his cards. We don't know which cards he has. 9 of clubs on the river, really important from a hand reading perspective to understand that given the action, he opened cutoff, I 3-bet big. He called the turn over bet. It doesn't change anything. Like, he's extremely unlikely to have a 9. So just ignore it. Shove. Hope he has ace-deuce and not queen-10. And yeah, he can decide what he wants to do with his ace-deuce or whichever hand he has. What I was saying is, whenever I know I'm not 100%, like I'm a bit tired or have a cold or something like this, what I tend to try to do is to play a bit more in my comfort zone, not make like big reads or big hero calls, because I know my head's not completely there. So yeah, you guys will probably see me kind of tone it down in terms of not looking into timing too much or just kind of trying to play my hand. And what you saw with ace king is like one of a million ways. There are a million ways you can play ace king there that are good, and there are like 10 million ways that are bad. But that's one of the million ways that's good to play ace king. Here, I'm gonna check fold with clubs to pretty much any sizing from villain. Worry to check back. Might start bluffing depending on the turn, if the turn is like a low card. If the turn's a 10, don't need to bluff, I just have the best hand probably. And then it's a matter of evaluating how strong is my hand, given villain checked back 9-8-5. What's he gonna check back here? Is he ever gonna check back kings or 9s? Is this always ace-king? So this really depends on the guys that you play against, how face up they are. I don't know this guy. Lower stakes like NL200, people tend to be a bit more face up, so check back ranges are a bit more face up. Face up would be ace king, pocket sevens, 7-8, no real traps. And that would mean we get to slightly overplay ace 10. Put a bit more money than maybe theoretically correct. Which means you could size up if you wanted, but because I'm recovering from a cold, I'm doing less of that. Less adventurous play. Just more playing the hand kind of like I'm supposed to. And again, there are a million ways you can size on the turn and on the river. You can check twice, you can bet 1/3, possibly you could bet bigger, especially if we make some assumptions about villain not checking back strong. But if I think that his range is centered around hands like ace king, ace queen, kind of want him to call. If I kind of want him to call, you know, at least on the turn, I'm gonna favor the 1/3 bet. 9s here versus a 2/3, I think is meant to just straight up fold. Could be wrong. It's probably close. You know, as bet sizes get bigger and boards are kind of Broadway heavy, you need to be a bit tight. 5-6-6 rainbow. It's an okay flop for 3s, nothing spectacular. I'm gonna call a half pot bet and look to just fold a lot later. And this is kind of the reason why it's not spectacular, where when a board double pairs, I now lose to everything. I still have the 3 as a very nutted out, but my hand becomes very, very bad. I now need to bluff with 3s. So, you know, it is what it is. You want to pick a sizing, you want to think, what am I value betting here? Most likely something along the lines of pocket 8s. Let's bet this. Then we can decide whether or not we want to fire the river. I generally like firing, but not every situation. Here, however, you know, when it rivers a 7, now if I have 7-8, I made a pair, 8-9 made a straight, lots of hands improved, so I think you kind of just have to fire, which we will. Good luck us. Against the goat. Deuces, 3s, 4s would be like the most likely bluffs for me here, plus some floats. You're always gonna 4-bet with kings. And again, this is something that you really need to put in the work to kind of know, who's this flop good for? Is a queen good for me? Is it good for him? And in these positions, queen's actually fairly good for my range, because I 4-bet bluff here with king, queen, ace, queen, etc. Yeah, so I'm just gonna kind of keep going. I think actually seems like an okay hand to just shove the turn, so I'll do that. Unexciting splash pot with queen 3 off. And bluff here would be some ace king hands. I don't think he gets to open shove, but let me think about it. No, he probably does. Probably not the end of the world to open shove a bit there. I would probably prefer not to, but it's okay. It's not too bad, given the amount of dead money. Okay, so here we're gonna squeeze 10s probably. Go a bit bigger. If it were just a 3-bet, I'd go to 10, but squeezing you want to go bigger. This cutoff guy should be like very pocket pair, suited hand heavy. If you go small, he just never folds anything. Here a6, I'm gonna, you know, call in theory 3 times, in practice 1 to 2 times, again because I kind of like folding. Of course we have to call on a 7. And when villain checks back, yeah, this hand should probably just value bet. There's not too much to say about it. Actually pot bet the queen jack. It's a nice play where you can maybe get him to fold some king jack, king queen hands, clean up the outs a bit. Yeah, so there's something in poker where after you understand a lot of the principles, still every single position pair and board texture is different, and even if I know how all the strategies fit together, I still need to look at the flop, look at the turn. We open against the goat, probably not. So yeah, we look at the flop, we look at the turn, and we need to judge, like, is this a spot where I want to be very aggressive, like the queen high board with kings, or is it a spot where I want to be a bit more tricky, like the ace 9-6 two-tone board I played earlier. This bet is too small for me to fold queen 10. It's actually a bet size it's like a pure protection bet size. Guess it might fit with something around my hand. Something like this, right? Yep. So I shouldn't be able to say that, obviously. Villain's being a bit too face up for my hand reading. So here we want to be doing lots of limping. Queen 5 offsuit, no, probably borderline. We'll get in there. I don't know how aggressive these guys play, if they defend the splash pot as much as they should. So we'll go after it with a queen 5, see what happens. And yeah, I would limp aces here as well, or lots of strong hands, so happy to limp fold. Four big blind open, same open we have in the Guerrilla Poker casino charts. So we know that against this, you very rarely flat, you play almost entirely 3-bet or fold. In theory, of course, if I know something about how the guy's playing, it's something different. Here we have king queen off, nice hand. The mistake a lot of recreational players make is to call king jack suited, ace 10 suited. They just call the 3-bet. But you don't really want to call out of position from the big blind. You 4-bet or fold. This is not strong enough, so we just fold. And again, you guys will have to excuse me for keeping the video a bit short. Like I said, covering from a cold, so not going to do too much. I think I'll probably actually wrap it up now. We had a few interesting hands, so let's do sit out. Yeah, we can sit out. Next hand we'll play the pocket 3s. And let's see. So yeah, we get the squeeze, but like you guys can see, whereas I squeezed 2 people and I went bigger than this, he's going small to the point where I'd just be able to very comfortably call 3s. So without the called 4-bet, that would have been nice. If this were a live Twitch stream, we'd rip it in just for fun, but no, that would be terrible. So we'll fold, just see the hand play out. Bet size seems a bit off for the board, but yeah, it's alright. Thanks for watching the live play, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed it. When you're playing poker, there are so many different things you can do. It's very easy to get lost trying to execute the perfectly balanced strategy, and hopefully you guys can see a bit about my style where I just kind of wing a correct way to play the hand. There are plenty of different correct ways. Nobody here really knows what I'm doing. How often am I potting? How often am I checking? How often am I half potting? I don't even know what I'm doing. Definitely HUD stats won't show it in any consistent way, considering all the textures and positions and sizes and everything. Once you kind of know how to play well, you can focus on your opponent and what you feel comfortable doing, and yeah, lots of room for creativity in game. And people who do this wrong, like the guy you guys saw who bet queen 10, and I was like, you know, I think he has a 10. According to his bet size, he's being a bit too face up. So if you can, you know, rather than focusing on what exactly I should do, I can focus on him. And, you know, had I had a different hand than my specific hand, maybe bluff raise, maybe hero call, maybe hero fold, etc. If you guys haven't, go check out the Guerrilla Poker website. We have a course about exactly these concepts, how to improve your red line, how to play different hands versus different opponents, and a bit digging into how to play some of these lines that you guys kind of see me autopilot through. We also have pre-flop charts for live play environments, NL100, NL2000 rake structures, and we're working on a few more. And the first chapter of the course is free, so definitely recommend you guys check that out. If you enjoyed the video, like and subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you next time.